To convince our brains to enjoy doing difficult tasks, it might seem like a strange concept. However, interestingly, according to research from National University and other studies, at least 88% of people consistently procrastinate their daily tasks. The strange part is that people don't even know why this happens. They know they need to get those tasks done, but due to mental barriers and negative habits, which we'll explore in this video, they avoid completing them. If you're facing this issue throughout your day, you're not alone. In this video, we'll first dive into the main mental obstacles, then explore psychological solutions tested by successful and well-known individuals. Finally, we'll answer some important questions. What is mental toughness? How can we control perfectionism? And what were the strategies of great people like Darwin, David Goggins, Andrew Huberman, and others in overcoming these mental barriers? Hello, and welcome to a new video on my channel. Today we're going to explore an interesting mental challenge and then dive into strategies that can help us trick our brains and start enjoying difficult tasks. This mental resistance, often referred to by psychologists as mental toughness, is an internal barrier that prevents us from starting challenging and long-term tasks. But here's the interesting part. It's not really a problem. Rather, it's a natural response in the brain that aims to avoid facing difficulties and challenges. But why does the brain act this way? Parts of our brain, like the limbic system, which regulates emotions, motivations, and survival behaviors, are constantly working to protect us from dangers and lead us toward comfort and security. When we think about a challenging task, the limbic system starts sending stress and anxiety signals to keep us from facing difficulties. This is exactly why they say, a big stone is a sign of no progress. When it comes to tackling big tasks like starting a business, breaking harmful habits, or even improving relationships, this brain system gets activated. But you might be wondering why people who have accomplished great things didn't experience this same nervous system reaction. The interesting answer is that it wasn't easy for them either. For example, Charles Darwin, despite his motivation and brilliance, struggled for nearly 22 years while working on his theory of evolution. He frequently doubted himself and feared starting, always searching for different reasons to delay his project. Even more interestingly, Darwin once wrote a letter to a friend saying, "Even though I know how important this book is, I fight with myself every day to sit at the desk and continue." This story shows how even the greatest minds wrestle with mental resistance. In fact, this is exactly the kind of resistance known as limbic friction, which can appear as a huge mountain in anyone's path. Now, the question is, with this neural system, how can we move forward with our tasks? This is where dopamine comes in. Dr. Andrew Huberman and other research have shown that our brains are highly dependent on instant rewards. When we procrastinate on a difficult task, we are essentially signaling to our brain to receive dopamine from easier activities, like checking social media or watching TV. This dopamine, the brain's pleasure and reward hormone, encourages the brain to choose activities that provide instant gratification with minimal effort instead of starting the hard tasks. Over time, this process causes dopamine to become toxic and turn into a negative habit. One of the best ways to counteract limbic friction is to incorporate small, easy habits into our routine, rather than focusing on the entire project. For example, when Darwin was working on the theory of evolution, he set up a daily schedule where he would write just a few pages of notes. These are called micro-actions. By doing this, the brain naturally becomes more prepared to tackle larger tasks. These types of habits allow the brain to strengthen neural pathways through repetition, ultimately reducing mental resistance and increasing focus. Psychological science has proven that when people feel a sense of control over something, more neural systems activate in that area, whether the task is big or small. That's why it's recommended that if you want to start a new habit, you should begin with something very small to get a sense of focus and mastery over it. When people realize they are focused on a particular subject, their sense of calm and self-confidence increases. But interestingly, mental resistance isn't the only barrier to accomplishing long-term tasks. One of the most important aspects of mental resistance is perfectionism. When we expect ourselves to achieve the best result from the very beginning, we put a lot of pressure on our minds. This pressure causes the brain to abandon the task entirely out of fear of not achieving the perfect outcome. One effective way to combat perfectionism is to focus on gradual growth and learning. As we mentioned earlier, starting imperfectly can help reduce perfectionist tendencies in the long run. For example, the famous writer Ernest Hemingway used to write a short passage every morning, believing that with each revision, the text would improve. This method helps control perfectionism by shifting the focus towards gradual progress. It reduces the stress of incompletion and internal resistance, allowing us to move forward with greater ease. Now, let's see how we can trick our brains into making hard tasks seem easier. One well-known method is the Eisenhower Matrix. This technique was designed by Dwight Eisenhower, the former president of the United States, to prioritize tasks. Before entering politics, Eisenhower was a military leader, and he divided his tasks into 4 categories. 1. Important and urgent. Tasks that need to be done immediately, such as tasks with approaching deadlines. 2. Important but not urgent. Tasks that need to be done but don't require immediate action. 3. Not important but urgent. Tasks that need to be done right away, but they aren't very important, like checking messages. 4. Not important and not urgent. Tasks that neither have urgency nor significant importance, like mindlessly browsing the internet. For us, the goal is to minimize tasks in the first category as much as possible and focus on the second category. Most of the time, the reason we procrastinate or delay tasks is that we push off tasks from the second category. Then, when they eventually become urgent tasks, we feel stressed and avoid them even more. Our brains are easily influenced by the limbic system, which tends to prioritize non-essential tasks, making us lean toward activities that seem urgent and entertaining but not important. At the end of the day, when we look back at what we've accomplished, we often feel like we've done nothing because most of the tasks we completed belong to categories 3 and 4, not 1 and 2. To avoid falling for this trick of the brain, we must carefully categorize our tasks into these priorities and not allow non-important tasks to appear as valuable in our minds. Unfortunately, many people fail to recognize this brain deception. Another way to trick the brain is by finding a deeper meaning in difficult tasks. When our brains sense that what we're doing has a significant purpose or meaning, they naturally become more focused and committed. For example, if you're working on a challenging project related to your dreams, your brain is naturally drawn to it. Therefore, we should try to connect everything we do to a larger purpose. One method David Goggins used for this was exactly that. He would say that when he faced a tough task, instead of focusing on the difficulty and the moment he was in, he would consider its long-term importance. If the task had significant long-term value, it became a meaningful goal for him. With this approach, Goggins went from weighing 150 kilograms to becoming an elite athlete who broke numerous records, including a Guinness World Record. This method helped Goggins stay incredibly motivated, ultimately transforming him into a powerful and successful figure in his field. There are other methods that can help reduce mental resistance. One of these is visualization of the process and the outcome. Many successful athletes, like Michael Phelps, the Guinness World Record holder and famous swimmer, use visualization to maintain motivation. This technique helps the brain prepare for mental resistance in advance and strengthens the neural pathways necessary for completing tasks. Additionally, there are proven 21-day programs that subtly and simply encourage positive habits. In the short term, you might not feel their impact, but over time, after about 100 days, these habits start to form. David Goggins, through these techniques, was able to make significant changes in his life, and these habits eventually became a natural part of his daily routine. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please share it with your friends and loved ones. This not only helps spread valuable and motivational information, but it also encourages us to keep moving forward and creating better content. Remember, every small step you take to improve yourself brings about greater changes in the future. Long live wisdom, which helps us face life's challenges and move along the path of growth and progress. Long live the philosophy that encourages people to think deeply, set goals, and act toward becoming the best versions of themselves. And finally, long live humanity, because only when we help and support each other can we create a better world. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to follow the channel and send us your comments, questions, or suggestions. We look forward to your feedback and interactions. Always remember that change and growth take time, but with every step you take, you're on the right path. Keep going and get closer to your goals.